Hello and welcome to Rajya Sabha Television. I am Vishal Dahiya and you're watching our special show Reset India, where we talk about key focus areas where resetting, revamping, restructuring is required to ensure the growth of Indian economy. Now, there are several sectors which we've spoken about so far, and today we're going to talk about one specific aspect, and that is entrepreneurship and innovation. In fact, entrepreneurship and innovation is the backbone when we talk about some future aspects, and it involves a lot of technology there as well. So today we're going to talk about all these aspects. But before we move ahead, let me first introduce our guests, and then we will take a look at various key points of this particular area. So we have with us Ms. Sunita Sanghi today, Consulting Advisor, Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, joining us. We also have with us Ms. Ishita Agarwal. She is Program Director, Atal Innovation Mission in Niti Aayog. And we're also joined by Mr. Ashneer Grover. He is co-founder and CEO of Bharat Pay, fintech startup, which has recently been awarded by Government of India as well. Welcome all of you to Rajya Sabha Television. But before I start the discussion with all of you, let us give our viewers a bit of an idea about the startup landscape. Now, if we look at startup landscape, then India has third largest startup ecosystem in the world. And in this ecosystem, there are almost more than 41,000 startups across India in various cities, Tier 1, Tier 2 and Tier 3 included. Now, 29 states and union territories have a startup policy, and 36 regulations have been simplified just to ensure that the startup ecosystem gives that much required backup to the entrepreneurs there. Now, between 2014 and 2019, that is these 5 years, $50 billion worth capital was raised by these startups, and we have also seen a lot of boom in women entrepreneurship there. And if we look at specific figures vis-a-vis women entrepreneurship, then almost 43% startups have at least one or more women directors. So this is all about startup landscape as of now, where we stand in terms of the startups and new entrepreneurs coming up. Then let's talk about the leading sectors where these startups are doing really well. And one of the leading sectors here is fintech. Now, fintech so far, as per the data, has almost $5.7 billion US there. Also, we look at some other sectors. E-commerce is another one, and for e-commerce, it is $11.7 billion US. Then enterprises, we have $3 billion US. Health tech is also another significant aspect there, $1.4 billion US. And logistics is another upcoming area where the total investment so far is $1.2 billion US there. So this is the overall landscape when we talk about the startups and entrepreneurship. Now, let's start our discussion, and to do that, let me begin with Ishita here. Ishita, since you're the Program Director of Atal Innovation Mission, let's first, put things in perspective for our viewers, and let's talk about why entrepreneurship and innovation is so crucial for India's growth.
Well, that's, I guess, fairly simple to answer. Most of the new job creation is done through small businesses and entrepreneurship. It's the entrepreneurs who actually take the risk. They they start a new business, and instead of becoming a job seeker, they become a job creator. Not only that, they create a new company. As a result of that, there are taxes which are paid, there are revenues which are generated, there are taxes which are paid to the government. And so, it sort of spirals out in doing a lot of things. There is economic return, which is good for the country and for the government. There is also a social impact which is created because a lot of people get jobs. And there could be a product or the solution which the startup and the entrepreneur is selling or, making available in the market, which could actually be making a lot of change in the socioeconomic challenges that we face as a country. So
Okay.
I think it's a no-brainer. The way ahead is entrepreneurship and innovation.
Okay. The way ahead is
Especially at this point in India, the world is going through a tough time, and this is when our Prime Minister has given a clarion call for Atmanirbhar Bharat, and that is another very strong reason why entrepreneurship should be leading the way.
Okay, definitely. Entrepreneurship and innovation is the way ahead, as Ms. Ishita was pointing out. Let me bring in Ms. Sunita here as well. Ms. Sunita, we'll talk about the skills part as well. But, staying on this point, from your perspective, from your point of view, why is it so crucial to focus on entrepreneurship and innovation in today's age? As Ishita was pointing out, it's the way ahead. It's all about technology. It's all about, people giving way to their ideas, finding solutions to those problems. But how does it add on to the overall growth of the economy?
See, in a country like India, which is enjoying the demographic advantage in terms of having more than 65% of people in the working age group of 15 to 59 years, it becomes very, very important to ensure that this particular demographic advantage is used productively, such that your GDP and your per capita income moves. And given the fact that in the labor market, close to about 50% of people are already working as self-employed people, this gives a clue that yes, India is a very entrepreneurial nation, otherwise also because large number of people are already self-employed and they have been working. And given the fact that the Honorable Prime Minister is now focusing on vocal for local, it brings into picture the fact that the wage employment, while it is desirable, it may not be possible to have that many wage employment to harness the demographic advantage that we have. So the only way is that we need to create those who are able to make use of the available labor, available capital, and translate the ideas that they have into those ideas which can generate direct and indirect employment. And I personally feel that entrepreneurship is one way through which we can really create decent jobs and which can give certainly workforce a reasonable standard of living. That is why I feel that India, since even prior to independence also, we have been a very entrepreneurial nation. You look at Tatas and you look at Birlas, they were prior to the independence. But post-independence, the focus was lost, and it was only, I think, in 2014 when we had a very focused attention on entrepreneurship, and from the Ministry of Skill Development also, from which I'm representing today, we, for the first time in the policy, also included the entrepreneurship. Okay. Because it was realized that it is the entrepreneur who has a capacity and willingness to develop and organize and manage a business venture, and who can not only take risks, but who can also generate, while he's taking risks, do innovation, produce new products. He can also generate both direct and indirect employment opportunities. And it is felt that these entrepreneurs are the catalytic agent who will really speed fast economic growth. And while Ishita was also talking about this difficult time, we have seen that it is these entrepreneurs who have really converted this pandemic also into an opportunity. I'm privy to certain enterprises who overnight, who over a very short period of time converted India into an import country to an export country. Okay. I'll just take a few small example of a PP kit and a mask, whereas we were importing PP kit, but today we are an exporter. So that is the power of the entrepreneur. So we need to create, and especially in a country like India where we have a huge informality and a huge micro, small and medium enterprises which are employing more than 80 million of the people, I think it becomes very, very important to focus on entrepreneurship, because that will realize the vision of vocal for local as well. Because today there is a need to harness the opportunities at the local area, because that is where employment opportunities, whether self-employment or wage employment, exist.
Okay, definitely. That is where the focus area should be, vocal for local, as Ms. Sunita is pointing out. And you rightly said out there that challenges have been turned into opportunities during this particular period by entrepreneurs. Now, Let's go to one of those entrepreneurs here. Mr. Ashneer Grover is with us today. He is the co-founder and CEO of Bharat Pay, one of the startups in the fintech sector out there, which I was earlier referring to. And undoubtedly, Mr. Grover, entrepreneurs like you are the shining example of what's the spirit of entrepreneurship and innovation. So the question here is that how difficult or how easy was it for people like you to come up with a solution-based platform, definitely, specifically in the fintech sector out there, as Ishita was referring to earlier, that basic idea of entrepreneurship is also to provide solutions to the problems which are being faced by people?
Yeah, I think if you look at the Indian market, there's no dearth of problems to solve. The key is to pick up a problem which is scalable and which is monetizable. And if I look back at our journey at BharatPay, that's what we did. We looked around and we saw that merchants were not willing to accept digital payments for one simple reason, because they had to pay a commission or what we call an MDR. So the product we came out with was a unified QR code through which a merchant could accept payments and would not have to pay any commission at all. And that picked up and became the norm. In fact, the government of India then made MDR zero on all UPI transactions in India. So to me, the key is to have a problem to which the solution is large enough, scalable enough, and monetizable. And that's what we have done. There's no secret sauce, there's no secret recipe. I think we've just gone behind where the demand was, where we thought a natural behavior is, and not try to change the behavior at all. And of course, adopt technology. Without technology and without understanding, deep understanding of technology in today's world, it is difficult to create any new business. Leave aside a tech startup. I fundamentally believe that even if you want to build something as simple as a house in today's day, you need to be extremely well versed with what's the latest technology in the world.
Okay.
So to me, technology and the scale of the problem, those are the two key ingredients.
Okay. Technology and scale of the problems are two key ingredients out there when we talk about entrepreneurship. That brings me to another important aspect of today's discussion, and that is innovation, because innovation is at the heart of entrepreneurship out there. Ishita, as part of the Atal Innovation Mission, if you could brief us on various policies, various programs which are there to inculcate that spirit of innovation and give that idea around to people that yes, they can also become entrepreneurs and find those solutions as Mr. Grover has found one.
Absolutely. So, Atal Innovation Mission has been set up at Niti Aayog with a mandate to encourage and inculcate the spirit of innovation and entrepreneurship in the country. And we have various programs across the innovation value chain. So our Atal Tinkering Labs program starts in schools, and we have supported more than close to 7,000 Atal Tinkering Labs across the length and the breadth of the country so far, which where we encourage young students to become creative, to think of solutions that they see and they come across in the community. We empower them with 21st century skill sets that they will need as they grow up, and we hope that they will all become neoteric innovators once they reach that particular age.
Okay.
So this is a program at school level. Then we have another program which is Atal Incubation Centers, which is again we have supported close to 70 incubators across the country so far, where we and these incubators are provided or are funded in academic institutions, in industry, in NGOs, so that when the innovators are ready with a product or a solution, then the business incubators, Atal Incubation Centers, are able to help convert these innovations into enterprises that can become scalable and profitable.
Okay.
Another set of institutions that we are building are the Atal Community Innovation Centers, and the idea over there is to take innovation to the rural areas, the nook and corner of the country where sophisticated innovation systems can't exist or
Okay.
cannot develop.
Okay, and
And
how's the response, Ishita, in terms of all these programs which we are running, be it at the school level, college level, or with incubators as well, with entrepreneurs?
We have got a very good response. We see more and more students, parents, teachers, and stakeholders from the community are very, very enthused by the idea of Atal Tinkering Labs. They want to come and participate. The incubators and the other funding programs also we have to support innovators and to fund their innovations. Totally overall, cumulatively, we are supporting close to 1,500 to 1,600 innovative startups. By the way, one third of them are led by women. And a lot of those innovations are also relating to the various issues or the socioeconomic challenges that we face in India today. And just to give you an example, the only company which is offering cardiac surgery equipment outside of the US is based at an Atal Incubation Center in Vizag in India.
Okay. Okay.
So that is the kind of impact that some of
that's-
these programs are making on the ground.
Okay, that's quite an achievement out there, and specifically the part where you mentioned that out of 1,500 odd startups supported by your organization, one third of them are being led by women. That is something which is really, really important and significant out there. Now let me go back to Miss Sunita here. Miss Sunita, it's not only about technology, it's not only about entrepreneurship, innovation skills there at the tech level or at those sectors which you're talking about. Skill development in other core sectors is also really important, and that is where apparently your ministry seemingly is doing a lot of work.
You see, the Ministry of Skill Development since 2014, when we came into existence, a large number of programs have been initiated, whether for providing skilling across 37 sectors which have been identified, short-term training or the long-term training through the Industrial Training Institute, which are 15,000 in number. And there are a large number of courses, and so far we have, under the Skill India mission, trained close to about 5.5 crore people. Young people have already been trained under the Skill India mission across various sectors. Now, to ensure that the people who are skilled, they have the relevant skills and they also are able to meet the requirement of the market, we have put in place a very robust national skill qualification framework. So any training that is happening with the assistance of the government funds needs to be necessarily aligned to these qualification and these standards. And this is the work that has been done by the regulator of the skill ecosystem. Till about July 2020, we had the National Skill Development Agency as a regulator. And now we have a regulator, which is a unified regulator known as National Council for Vocational Education and Training. This regulator is now ensuring that all the qualifications that are actually being taught in the training institutions, whether it is for the wage employment or for the entrepreneurship development or any apprenticeship training, they're all aligned to the National Skill Qualification Framework. Now, within the Skill Ministry, we have also been focusing on the apprenticeship training.
Okay.
And apprenticeship training, we realize, is very, very necessary. Because unless and until an individual has a experience on working actually on the shop floor, he or she may not be in a position to understand the kind of technology and the kind of work processes that are there. So even if there is an entrepreneur and he is in need of a very high skilled manpower, so if the people are exposed to the shop floor and they're exposed to these kind of a technology, we will be in a position to have a job-ready workforce. The kind of skills that are required, whether it is for the entrepreneurship or for the labor market, the generic skill like basic literacy, numeracy, problem solving, or your creative skills or your entrepreneurial skills, I think the Skill India mission is able to provide not only the domain level skills across various sectors, but also the employability skills. Because it is realized when we started discussing with the industry and with a large number of employers, it was realized that while they appreciate the domain skill, but they're also wanting that the students are not only exposed to the actual industry practices, but they also have the employability skill, whether it is problem solving, social, interpersonal skills, and numeracy. So Skill India mission, we are providing these kind of skills also. And we are now embarking on a path wherein we are trying to link the education and vocational education ecosystem, even higher education, by bringing in the hub and spoke model, wherein the existing infrastructure of the Ministry of Skill Development in the form of Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Kendras or Industrial Training Institute Polytechnics may be utilized by the formal education ecosystem also to realize that seamless convergence and seamless movement to the world of work, so that as and when a person joins the world of work, he has some skills in his hand. I mean, this is what the Skill India mission is able to achieve. So while we are to not only scale up, we are also able to ensure quality in the skill ecosystem.
Okay, definitely. Skilling and reskilling is also required, and it's a very important aspect as well. Let's now go back to the startup ecosystem, and let me bring in Mr. Grover again here. Mr. Grover, let's learn from your experience in terms of how good our startup ecosystem right now is. That's one, and obviously there is a scope for improvement in every aspect, every sphere. So what more needs to be done to achieve those targets which we actually are set to achieve in terms of making today's startups to tomorrow's Indian MNCs?
So if we look at the startup ecosystem, what are we talking about? We are basically talking about the market for capital, the market for talent, the government to the startup relationships, right? I think those are the three key components. Now, I think the markets are very efficient. So if you are a startup today in India and you want to raise capital and you have half a decent idea with a good team, I think you cannot complain about availability of capital. Now, if you have a good business idea, then even small money can take you far. If you have a bad business idea, even you can raise millions of dollars and it will not take you far. That's a different story. But I think there's a very efficient market for capital. If you talk about the next piece, which is the market for talent, I think it is slightly lopsided today. Today, if you are a startup in India and you want to get good technology, business talent to work for you, essentially you're talking only two cities. You're talking about Delhi NCR and you're talking about Bangalore, right? I won't even count Mumbai in that. So I think in that sense, things are very, very consolidated in these two hubs. And there's a scope for at least the talent market to be much more wider in India, right? So why can't a tier 1, tier 2 city generate the kind of startups that these two large hubs have been able to create? I think where a lot of more work needs to be done is the government to startup. See, as rightly pointed out by other panelists, startups are one of the biggest creators of employment in the last 10 years, whether organized sector or unorganized sector. Even if you look at the gig employees, you talk about all Uber drivers, you talk about all delivery boys of Amazon, Zomato, Swiggy. We're talking about employment generation which is unparalleled to any other sector. But I think where we are lacking as a sector is the right representation with the government. Despite the fact that $50 billion of foreign money has been brought in, and despite the fact that tens of lakhs of people are employed directly and indirectly by the startups, the government startup interface to me is not truly representative of what the startups need. So I think there is a lot of room of improvement in terms of voicing what the startups need in terms of regulations, the further SOPs that can be given to startups to grow the segment. I think that's one aspect on which the ecosystem is still to develop a lot.
And then one more small question here, Mr. Grover, and that is in terms of the key sectors wherein a lot of focus will be in the days or weeks or months or years to come. Fintech obviously is one you're part of, but then apart from that, what are the sectors to look out for when we talk about the startups or entrepreneurship?
Yeah, I think those sectors will keep evolving. As you rightly pointed out, fintech will always be ahead on that. And for me, the reason for that is pretty simple. A country like India is the most capitalist country you can get, right? Because the transaction drives the behavior. Right? It is not the contract which drives the behavior. Right? In fact, it's very difficult to enforce the contract here, but it's very easy to enforce a transaction. So therefore, anything which has got to do with money or money flow, and which is where fintech is, will continue to do extremely well over the next 10 years as well.
Okay, that's quite interesting. Before we finish this particular conversation, let's have a concluding comment quickly from Ms. Ishita Agarwal here as well on the way forward, Ishita, in terms of entrepreneurship, innovation, the startup ecosystem.
So I would say that entrepreneurship, innovation, and is the way forward. And the government right now is trying to do its best to make the path easy for startups, for technopreneurs, for scientists to come and take the plunge, do a startup, and none other than the Prime Minister himself roots for our youth of the country and the startups to, go ahead and please take this opportunity and hit by the islanders hot. And all the best to you. And please do reach out to us for any support that you need.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much there, Ishita Agarwal, as well as Ms. Sunita Sanghi and Ashneer Grover as well, the young entrepreneur who was with us. So this is all about entrepreneurship, innovation, and the skill development obviously is also a very important and integral part of that. As our panelists were pointing out, the startup ecosystem in India is at its best right now in terms of options to find problems to find solutions for. And as panelists were also pointing out, there is no dearth of capital. Also, if you have a good idea, there is a very strong policy support as well. Quite a number of regulations have also been eased out. So there it is for all of you to go and grab this opportunity. If you have an idea, try your hands at it and see as to whether or not you can find a solution to that one problem which might be your innovative idea. We'll come back again on Friday with a different topic, different aspect, different sector which needs to be focused upon and restructured or reset. Till then, keep watching Rajya Sabha Television.